hello everyone. It's good to see everyone back here today. How y'all doing today?
Doing well, thank you, Rabbi.
All right, good to see you, Lola. And anybody joining right now on Facebook Live as well, try to join in to the Zoom. Credentials are on the Aish website over there. Okay, Aish page.
Rabbi, what I wanted to ask you, please, I didn't understand that Hillel was dealing with Pharaoh because, you said it started with him, but Hillel is normally a prayer of praise or gratitude. So I didn't quite understand that yesterday.
Okay. So this could be something that we'll do right now, just until everybody else comes and joins. So when I was referring to Hallel yesterday, there is a midrash, and it's called Midrash Tehillim. I could share it with you right now on the screen, but it's not in English. I could share it with you though. But if you, I don't know if you trust me, there is a midrash called Midrash Tehillim. It's a midrash. We have to understand what midrashim are. There are texts that were written by rabbis. Could you guys see me on the video? Okay, now you can see me. Okay.
Now I can see you. Okay.
Excellent. Yeah. So midrash were texts created by the rabbis. And what the rabbis do with the text is that they explain something or they bring a story in order to teach us some insight. And there is a midrash in Midrash Tehillim that says that Pharaoh was the one who said Hallel first. During the night, when all the firstborns were all dying in Egypt, that same night when Pharaoh's own firstborn died, Pharaoh feared for his own life because he was also firstborn. So he woke up in the middle of the night with his pajamas. We know that there's a song that goes, Pharaoh in the middle of the night with the pajamas. I don't know exactly how it goes, but Pharaoh is in pajamas in the middle of the night. And he goes over to Aaron and Moses' home and he knocks on the door and he says, you must let your people go this second. Because if you don't leave this second, Egypt is going to be completely destroyed. I demand and I command on you to leave right now. It's the middle of the night. It's 12:30 in the morning, 12:30 a.m. Oh, so Moses and Aaron go to Pharaoh and they say, no, we're not going to leave in the middle of the night. If you want us to leave, we'll leave like a free people do in bright daylight so that all of Egypt will see that the Jewish people have left Egypt. We're not going to leave like thieves in the middle of the night. So Pharaoh replied to Aaron and Moses according to this midrash. We don't know if this actually took place, but this is what the rabbis are giving us a context into the story to teach us the secrets behind it. That Pharaoh, if you come to our Shemot classes, we're going to give a class about the book of Exodus tomorrow. We're in the chapter 5. You learn about the origins of the Jewish nation, how it was formed, and how it had to form specifically from Egypt. Over there, Pharaoh was actually also struggling with his belief in God. He was the master of the superpowers of all over the world. It was the strongest superpower. It was Egypt. And for Pharaoh right now, for the Jewish people to impose on him their God, that's something very audacious. You don't go to the most powerful civilization in the world and then demand to let your people go, some slaves go, because their God, the slaves of these Hebrews have said, we don't know about your gods. We have our own system of religion over here. We're the strongest superpower of the world. Look what our God, the Egyptian gods brought us to. The pinnacle of civilization. You're going to come here from a nation full of slaves and a small nation of slaves and come and tell me that your God is superior to my God? Prove it. So the 10 Makos are to prove that. And in the end, Pharaoh is convinced. And he says, before you were my slaves. And when you were my slaves, you couldn't worship God, because when you serve others, when your time is not free, when your speech is not free, when you can't speak your truths out, then you cannot be a servant of God. You can't really worship God. So Pharaoh said, until now, You are my slaves. Right now, with these words, you go, leave this second. I freed you. Since I freed you, you now became the slaves of God, the servants of God. Because automatically, when you're a free person, you have a connection to God. You have a relationship with the Creator if you are free. He says, right now you're free. I let you go. I'm talking about it from a political sense. You're now free. Since you're now free, now politically, now you're also free to worship God. And therefore, Pharaoh said the words, Hallelu Avdei Hashem. Part of the Hallel is, Hallelu, bless or praise the God of Avdei Hashem, of those who are the slaves of God, the servants of God. If you are not a servant of Pharaoh, then you're automatically a servant of God. You have that connection. And that's when Pharaoh said Hallel. He says, Hallelu Avdei Hashem. The words Hallelu Avdei Hashem, which we read at every Hallel and we sing with Karlebach tunes, that pasuk was actually the author was Pharaoh. Pharaoh was the one to give it. Say that. He says, now you are the slaves of God because you're no longer my slaves. So you must leave the second. He says, well, if we're free, then we'll do it on our own time. We'll leave in the middle of the day. So that was a response to a question in this class. We'll take the next part of the Hagaddah, fascinating stuff. But before that, we pray together for the safety and the health of the entire world, of the Jewish people, Jewish nation, the land of Israel, and for Jews everywhere, and for people in our communities and neighbors, all the nations of the world. We pray that Hashem should give everyone healing, and everyone should come out of this stronger. We should only grow from this experience and not become panicked people. We should grow in our faith to God because of this. When you're in these situations, then that's when you could really strengthen God in your hands. You're not in control. One second, I gotta fix my Facebook Live. Just 1 second. Okay, I will mute all. I just muted everyone. If anyone would like to participate and say anything, you're most welcome to ask a question about the subject. 100% welcome. Just unmute your microphone, but it's going to be muted for everyone otherwise. Okay. So let's dive in to what we're learning today. The second part, I'm going to share the screen with you right now. The second part of the Hagaddah. And here is the first part. Okay. So we're going to the Arba'a Banim. So we touched on the 4 children. We went through the four children just as briefly. We just went over it, skimmed over it. But now we're going to dive right into. You guys all see the screen? Thumbs up. Everything's good? Okay. Excellent. Baruch HaMakom, Baruch Shanatan Torah L'Amo Yisrael, Baruch Hu. Keneged Arba'a Banim Dibra Torah. The Torah spoke about 4 types of children. Echad Chacham, Ve'echad Rasha, Ve'echad Tam, Ve'echad Sheno Yodea Lish'ol. 4 sons the Torah spoke about. Wise one, the evil one who is, they translated as innocent. I don't know about that translation. And one Shelo Yodea Lish'ol. Okay. Chacham HaOmer. What's the question of the Chacham? Ma ha'edot v'chukim v'mishpatim. What are the testimonies, statutes, and judgments the Lord God commanded you? So first of all, who is a Chacham? What type of person is a Chacham? What could it be a Chacham? Any suggestions? So let's find where this Chacham asked this question in the Torah. Okay, we're going to go to Parashat Vayetchanan in Deuteronomy, where we actually see that question that the Torah spoke about. Because he says that it corresponds to 4 children the Torah spoke about. So where do we find them in the Torah? Let's go find them. The Chacham question is in Dvarim, the book of Deuteronomy. When your children will come to you and ask you, what are those decrees that God gave to you? Yeah? What does it mean? What mean the decrees, laws, and rules that God has enjoined upon you? What is that? What is he asking? Chacham is somebody, there's 2 types of Chachamim. There's a Chacham that is inside our wisdom, our tradition, he's part of that. And then you have a Chacham that he doubts, that he asks questions about the tradition. He's a skeptic, but he's a Chacham, he's wise. There's 2 Chachams. The Chacham in the Torah is the Chacham who has a doubt. Ma'edot. Why are you doing this? He doubts it. He doubts that this historical event even took place. And then you have the Chacham of the Hagaddah. He's already on it. He's in on it. He's in on the story. So therefore, he understands what his historical destiny is. Where does he fit in the story of Egypt and story of the forming of the Jewish people? And therefore, all he's left to ask is, okay, what do we do now? Give me some halachot. Give me some ideas of what to do. But if you look in the Torah, that's not what happens. When the son asks in the Torah, what are the decrees and laws? So what do we tell him? Avadim ayinu lefaro b'Mitzrayim. We were avadim in Egypt. We were slaves in Egypt. Here, I'll show you this pasuk right now. The response between what the Torah says and what the Hagaddah says is so different. Over here, the response is, avadim hayinu lefaro. Avadim hayinu. That's what you tell him. We were slaves in Egypt. It's a fact. And then, vayotzienu, it all happened to us. But with the Hagaddah, it's completely different. He says, you tell him some halachot of Pesach. Give him some of the laws of Passover. Why give him any laws of Passover? The guy asked you, the Torah says, the response to him was, God took you out of Egypt. Don't give him any halachot, but you give him halachot. So this is a Chacham, apparently, who's different than the Chacham that is in the Torah. The Chacham who is in the Torah, the wise man in the Torah, he's wise, but he's a skeptic. He's not sure if it took place. He doesn't understand, maybe from historical sense, it didn't happen. We tell him it happened. It's a transmission. It's something that happened not only to an individual, but to an entire nation together. And that's why we're here today. But the other Chacham in the Hagaddah, he needs a different answer. Okay. So the Chacham in the Torah, let's ask about him. The one who's doubting all tradition. He's blasphemous, you could call it. He's heretical questions. Is that bad? If somebody has a heretic question, somebody doubts the validity of a Torah or has some problem accepting, is that something that is okay to do? Are you allowed to have those questions? Are you allowed to have those thoughts according to Judaism? So over here you see that you definitely could have those questions. Because really, in truth, every question is heretical in its nature. Because you're questioning data. If you're questioning any data that you're questioning, that's heretical. But it should be accepted to you as a given. Why are you even asking? Why are you even inquiring about this? So every question could raise those doubts. So a person is allowed to ask a question because the Torah provides answers for that. So what's the difference between what we call in the Torah apikoros, a heretic, and there's certain laws to him, and what we said, the right type of questions that we could ask. An Epicurus, one who denies a belief in God, he goes through his question trying to get to uncertainty. He's just skeptical of everything. Everything in life, he just asks questions. He's not trying to get to any truth. If you're coming from a place of truth, then you could get to truth. If you're coming from a place of absolute, at least you believe in something. You know, our forefathers, at least, they believed in idolatry. That's why God chose them. Because at least they believed in something. They're not shaky. They had certain idolatry that they believed in. The house of Lavan, the Ivrim, Evel, Hebrew, the Hebrews, the original Hebrews. They at least believed in something. That's why our nation is made out of them. So if you're coming from a place that you have certainty, that's your way of life. That you try to get clarity instead of trying to break down barriers and trying to get to uncertainty. And it's something that happens a lot today in the modern way of thinking. It's just destroy, 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 but you build nothing. It's very ambiguous. If the more confused you are, the more intellectual you are. The more confused you are, the greater you are. Which there is something to it, because you should always be inquiring. But we have to try to get to an absolute. We have to get to clarity of thought. So over here, the answer that the Torah gives to him, it gives an answer, it gives a rational answer. You know why you question why we do these customs, why we do these traditions? Give him the proof that you need for that. And the proof is the Jewish people. We carry that tradition. We always did it. It goes back for generations upon generations. So just give that over to your son. If he's an intellectual and he's really looking for it, and he's maybe a pseudo-intellectual, and he's just tell him it's a fact, a historical fact. Okay. So when someone sometimes a question though could clarify one to give emunah, because quite often emunah is presented to the public in the wrong way, and because of that, the rejection to the fact that to his emunah is justified. Sometimes we were taught the wrong things in school, or we were taught according to the limitations of a child in kindergarten. And because a person is based on those ideas, now he's doubting because he was given wrong information or information that is never advanced. So of course he could have questions about emunah. Once we show him that, your definitions may not have been right, may not have progressed, as well as a mature person should think about certain things in the Torah. So let me hear your question 100%. And your question could be very heretic because the data that you have was not full data or was not the correct data. So I think that we welcome in Judaism any question that a person has, and we don't categorize questions on belief as being heretic or being blasphemous at all. I am not offended by any one of those questions. But the person should be willing to be open to hear. Okay, it's worth taking a look at what the Chacham and the wise child is answered to in the Chumash in Va'et Hanan. Okay, so I will share the screen right now for those of you who are in Zoom. Okay, we have over here Kish alcha bincha machar lemo ma'edot v'chukim ha'mishpatim asher tzivah Hashem Elokeinu etchem. When your son asks tomorrow, what are these laws that God has gave you? What's edot? Edot is testimony. Okay, edot. The son asks, how do we know that that what we're testifying about is true, that it's historical fact? Is that a good question? Yes, it's a good question. Chukim, the next thing that he asks, what are chukim? We all know that chukim are Torah laws, that the reasons have not been revealed explicitly. Okay, there could be reasons to it, but they're not apparent. You have to really break your head and think outside the box to try to find the reasoning behind the chukim. They're not apparent. They're super rational chukim. Why do we have them? Because a person is supposed to be able to worship God even though he doesn't understand. Because then you have authority, right? It's not all the laws are like this. Some of the laws. It's like a child. When a child is, when you have to rear a child, once in a while, you have to give over and say to the child, because I said so. Why do you want it? No. Why? Because I said so. You don't have to say that every time. Give reasoning to why you've made certain decisions. But once in a while, child has to know, because I said so. By the way, could you guys also see me and also see the screen?
No, just the screen.
Okay.
I mean, I see you on the small one, but it's not half and half.
All right. Okay, so you guys understand what? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Asaf, for the feedback. Do you understand what I'm saying? When you have to impose authority sometimes, and you have to say, well, because I said so. So God sometimes has those laws of chukim. If you really want to understand, if you're really intelligent, you can really try to understand why he said, that's why I said so, and you could find the reasoning behind it, because everything has reasoning. Everything is logical. But a person is, so we have edot chukim. So he's asked, why do you keeping these laws, right? If you don't understand what they're telling you, you shouldn't be keeping them. That's his question. V'mishpatim. Mishpatim are the laws that are revealed to us. We know the reasoning behind the laws. So what's his question? Why do you need these mishpatim? If musar, if ethics and morals are something that we should all know about, the mishpatim, there's the reasoning behind them. So we don't need God to tell me why I should be honoring my mother and father, why I should not murder, right? There's codes of ethics and morals that precede Judaism, that precede the Torah. Derech eretz kadma laTorah, right? We didn't bring the concept of do not murder to the world. Some people like to accredit that to us, but it's not, right? There is musar, and there is morals, and there's ethics before you achieve the Torah. So why do I need laws to tell me? That's his other question. What do we answer to that? The answer is that God wanted to give you a zechut. God wanted to give you a reward. He wanted to give you a connection, because a mitzvah means savta, means connection. So he wanted to connect you to him. So he gave you an added bonus that not only are you being ethical and moral, but also you through this could connect to God. Right? Gadol ha-mitzuveh ve'oseh. One who is commanded and he's done, there's a connection right now that brings him closer to God. God gave us a special gift in that. Okay. So why doesn't the Hagaddah bring this chacham that we're talking about, that we found in the Torah? This chacham was asking all these brilliant questions, and not only the chacham who speaks about what should I do lahalacha, because the Hagaddah is speaking to the common occurrence, and the common occurrence is that wise child who actually showed up to the Seder, he does not have those type of questions, and he's loftier. All he needs to know about are the halachot. Okay. So how does the Torah answer to all of them? The answer to the first question that the Chacham had about the testimony in the Torah, I will share with you right now, so we could look at it together. This is really interesting. Vayiten Hashem otot moftim ra'im b'far'o v'chol beto le'enenu. This is the answer to the first question. The first question was about the testimony, right? Right? First question is about testimony. How do we know that what we're testifying is actually true? He says, God gave otot umoftim v'chol beto le'enenu, in front of our eyes. This happened. Ve'otanu hotzi mishan. God took us out of there. Leman havi otanu, latet lanu. This happened to us. Okay? We're not asked to give a testimony about something that didn't happen in front of our eyes. We're not asked to give testimony specifically about Bereshit, about the creation of the world over here. We're given testimony to something that actually happened to us. Okay? It's like, how do we know the Holocaust happened? So I said over here in my notes. We could look for documents, for pictures, for recordings, for testimonials. But who needs all those documents? It's only a person who wasn't there. But somebody who was there, the fact that he's there, that brings him closer to it's called induction, right? When individuals experience and then they pass it over. An entire nation does this. So you don't need any photos or testimonials or any proofs because it happened to us. Now the second question was about chukim. And we went through that. Okay, so we could continue. V'amartem zivach pesachu l'Hashem. So the last pasuk of this, let me show it to you over here. No, that's not what I wanted to show. Okay. Now the Rasha. Let's study about what the Rasha has to say. That's the second son, right? In the way that they're prescribed over there. Chacham, and we have Rasha. Rasha ma omer. Rasha, what does he say? Ma avodah zot lachem. What is this worship to you? Lachem velo lo. Because he says to you and not to him. He took himself out of the nation, of the community of Israel. Kafar ba'ika. So what is the question of the Rasha? Ma avodah azot lachem. Right? What is this worship to you? What is avodah? Avodah is the korban. Right? The sacrifice of Pesach, that is the avodah. Says, why are you sacrificing? When your children ask you, what do you mean to do by sacrificing? Today I had a conversation with someone about sacrifices. And he says, why do you need this? When we don't need the Temple Mount. We were speaking about there's a few Jews who want to go and do Korban Pesach, or at least try to slaughter a lamb on Temple Mount before Passover. And according to Trump's deal of the century, he would be allowed to go and sacrifice, or this group would be allowed to go up to the Temple Mount and also have equal worshiping rights, just as the Arabs do. They're able to worship in their way, and we will be able to worship in our way. I don't think that's too extreme, right? It's something if you're in a democratic country. So one of them is freedom of worship. Right? That's a principle of a democracy. And if you don't have that, then you don't have a democracy. So these people, I'm going to turn on these people want to go up and they want to worship. They want to bring a lamb, as it is allowed to according to the Torah law, to bring a lamb unto Temple Mount. But this will cause a provocation. Of course, we don't want to endanger any Jews. So the government right now says, we will not allow it. So they bar these people from entering Temple Mount and doing something of a Jewish ritual, that is just like wearing tefillin. We have that commandment. We have a commandment to also bring a paschal offering on Temple Mount. So they're denying them of that right. Okay. So now I don't want to say that the person who I was speaking to is a Rasha, chas v'shalom. He's not a Rasha. But his question was very similar to the question of the Rasha. The Rasha says, why do you need this worship? Right? Why do you need to bring a lamb onto a mountain and slaughter it? It's such idiocy. It's like idol worship. What are you guys doing? That's not rational. Right? So through the answer, what the Torah answers this guy, I will tell you what his question really was. So let's look at the answer. The Torah gives the answer for this person who says, why do you need these weird rituals, right? Rasha. So many tabs open. So embarrassing. I got to clean up for Pesach. Okay. And when your children ask you, what do you mean by this right? That's exactly the question I was telling you. What do you mean by this? This is such like nonsense. So what do we answer? This Passover sacrifice unto the Lord, because he passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt when he smote the Egyptians, but saved our houses. And the nation bowed down and praised God. So now I want you to see the commentary of Vayikod ha'am vayishtachavu. This is fascinating. Look at Rashi. It's loading right now. Oh. I don't know if you could see it, but over here. Vayikod ha'am. Could you see it? And the people bowed. I can't see it. 1 second. I have a... Oh, okay, very good. And the people bowed the head in thanksgiving for the tidings of the approaching deliverance, for the promise of their coming into the land, for the land of Israel, first of all, right? And for the tidings regarding the children who they would have. So they're happy because God told them, you will have children who will ask you these questions one day. But which child are we speaking about? Are we speaking about the wise child? This is specifically Maha Avodah Zot Lachem that we had over here. Lachem velo lo, right? This over here, Avodah Zot Lachem. We're speaking about the question of the Rasha. Do you see what's happening here? Do you see what's happening? They're saying we will bow down and give praise to God and dance, because God is telling us that we will have children. But the children who are asking you these questions, that's the Rasha, that's the wicked child. How could you be happy about such a situation that you have children who are asking you these heretical questions, the Rasha questions? The answer is we're happy. We're happy they're asking questions. Person's asking questions, then they're engaged. That's great. I don't care how heretic your question asks, how blasphemous your questions seem like. There's answers for them all. Let's engage. Let's speak about it. So the Torah said they rejoice that they will have children, so to speak, will ask these questions if they are in doubt. If they are in doubt, they should speak up. If you have students who don't speak up, they will forever remain with those doubts. Okay? Okay, let's continue. So that was Vayikod ha'am. Now, what is the exact question of the Rasha? I said through this we'll understand the question of the Rasha. He says, Lachem velo lo. If we look, share the screen again. Lachem velo lo, right? That's what the Hagaddah says. That was the problem with the Rasha, was the way he asked his question. Rasha Omer, Ma avodah zot lachem, for you. Lachem velo lo. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. I'm trying to find it. Okay? Because he took himself out of the equation. That's the problem that we have with the Rasha. He took himself out of the equation. When you say, what is this word lachem velo lo? So you know there's a Talmud that says, Atzeret tiyeh lachem. It's a pasuk. It's a verse that speaks about the holidays, specifically about the holiday of Shavuot, but it says lachem. So sometimes the Torah tells us lachem, and sometimes the Torah tells us La Hashem. This will be a festival unto God, or it will be a festival unto you. What do you mean a festival unto me? God would desire that we'll have a festival, but we'll also do it for ourselves. What does that mean? The Rasha comes and asks, oh, you know why you're doing all this? It's lachem. It's for you. It's all for your own belly. This whole Seder night with all the lavish food and lavish attire and dress and getting all together and singing and happy. You think you're doing this for God? You're doing it for the roast, or no, you can't have roast on Pesach night, but you're doing this for the delicious brisket that's going to come during the Seder. That's why you're doing all this. Don't kid yourself. Lachem, velo lo, and not for him. Lo, for God. Right? That's the question of the Rasha. You're doing this for yourself. You're doing all these rituals. You're really doing it for yourself. So what do we answer him? You also blunt his teeth and tell him, God also did this for me. What does it mean for me? For myself, for my own belly. God did this also so we will have physical enjoyment from it. It's one way of God connecting ourselves to Him, is through eating, is through things like that. Because if God did not want us, if God did not desire our eating or our bringing a Paschal offering, and Paschal offering is specifically that. It's one of those offerings that is completely eaten by the individuals who went and got the offering. Right? There's some offerings that you bring up, and half of it goes to the Kohen, half of it goes to God, some go completely for God. This is something that, except for the aliyah, for the fat in the tail, everything is eaten by the people who brought the korban. So it's for us. God wanted us to eat. God is connecting to us through our bellies, and we thank God for what He gave to us, and for this delicious taste, or for being satiated, and then you have a connection to God. If God did not desire that, then He wouldn't create us as human beings who need to eat. Because we have a need to eat, that means that God needed us to need to eat, and therefore He needs our food, and He needs our korban. He wants that connection with us, because that's the way He created the world. That's what korban symbolizes. It's not something that is idol worship. God wanted to have a connection with us through this earth, through the lowliest things like the animals, right? That's what God desires. You should know God with everything that you do. That's why we have brachot. Every single item that we do in our life, we're connecting God to God through that. Okay. So what does this mean? Hotzi atzmo min haklal. That he took himself out of the equation. He depicts himself, this Rasha, as if he's above it all. If he was just honest with himself and understand that he also just likes to eat, and that he could connect to God through that, then he wouldn't be kofer ba'ikar. He wouldn't be a person who is blasphemous. But because instead he puts himself in this abstract philosophical place, as if, I am not belonging to these festivals of idolatry. You guys all come together and say all these words and say a kiddush. I don't belong. So this guy becomes like a pseudo-intellectual. What happened to that? He's hotzi atzmo min haklal. You're taking yourself out of Am Yisrael. Don't do that. Don't take yourself out of the klal. We have to put this person back into the context and give him the context that, yes, don't be such a pseudo-intellectual. You enjoy the food too. And therefore, hakhe et shinav. I would like you guys to see this. You know what hakhe et shinav is. What does it mean? Asaf, what is hakhe et shinav?
His teeth.
To do what? I missed the first word.
To hit his teeth.
To hit it. Oh, wow. That's very aggressive for the Torah to give that response. Blunt his teeth. To blunt something. What is a blunt object? Lola could give us maybe the definition. Okay, Lola did not hear me. Lola, do you hear me? Oh, she's probably speaking, but we can't hear her because I have to unmute her.
Yeah.
Oh, I sorry, you were muted. I couldn't hear you before. Say it again. What is the definition of blunt?
blunt your teeth is actually to take yourself out again.
It means to take his teeth out.
No, to take you out of the gathering, that you shouldn't be part of the gathering.
But why did it say blunt his teeth? What does he use that figure of speech?
I don't know.
So a blunt is when you have a knife that is blunt. That means that you take off the edge, right?
Yes.
Right. So when we're doing with his teeth, the teeth are the aggressive part of a person, right?
Yes.
So we have to remove the edge of that aggressive part within him.
Very clever.
Okay. So therefore, you also have the letter shin. So let's look. I'll share with you the screen again. Okay. So we have Ra, a person who's Ra, a person who is Rasha, right? What is a Rasha? What is a person who is a Rasha? We always say, oh, this person is a... You know that concept, Rasha? Yes? Rasha? Yeah, okay. Rasha is one who has a Yetzer Hara.
Wicked.
Person bad?
Yes.
Yeah, a person who is Yetzer Hara, is he bad?
Yes.
A person who has an evil inclination is not bad. Everyone has an evil inclination. It's inborn in every single person. I don't care how big of a rabbi you are. You have a Yetzer Hara. So a person who has evil inclination is not a Rasha. He is not bad. Someone, I wrote, who adopted evil and bad as a way of life, that person is bad. One who uses the Yetzer Hara to lead him, and instead of he leading his inclinations towards better paths, so that person is Ra. But Rasha is someone who's actually adopting that way of life. Okay, therefore, Hakhe et Shinav. What is Hakhe et Shinav? What's the difference between Ra and Rasha? Is just one letter over here in the middle, the Shin. Therefore, Hakhe et Shinav. The letter Shin, take that off. Take the Shin off of Rasha, and what does that become? Ra. You only have bad inclinations within you, or we all have our tendencies that we could shift to that way, but you're not a Rasha. Rasha is somebody who's proactively doing it. So you take off that Shin, take that Shin off, take that edge off, Hakeh Shinav, and then he just becomes someone who has Ra within him, and that's perfectly fine because you can work with someone like that. Someone like that could achieve greatness. Okay. Or the actual teeth, maybe. Maybe we're actually speaking about his actual teeth. The when the teeth is a Shen. Shen, if you learned Baba Metzia, tractate in the Talmud, it classifies the enjoyment, right? Asaf, the enjoyment of animals, right? So the Shin. So when you bring out the food, when he smells, so if you hear the Rasha asking those type of questions, he's being a pseudo-intellectual. He's saying, so what are you guys doing? It's like idolatry. I don't associate with people like who worship idolatry or into all this mysticism and stuff, all these rituals. I'm not into that. So what's our response? Bring out the food. Let the food come out of the kitchen. Let the smell come out of the kitchen. Hakeh Shinav, then his hana'ah, his enjoyment is going to kick in. They'll understand that he's also made like us. And that God gave him those desires. God gave a person craving for food and craving for all these different type of things. And there's a reason for all that, because God wanted those cravings. God wanted us to have them. So each one of those cravings are a mitzvah. And therefore, each one of the cravings that we have could be targeted towards certain mitzvot. Right? Because God wanted us to have them. Okay? So that's what we do to the Rasha. So it's much less aggressive than knock out his teeth. to understand the context of what we're speaking about. Okay. It says, li velo lo. Let's share the screen. Lola, we didn't say Lola. We says velo lo. Right? Okay.
Yes, got it.
All right. So what does it mean? Li velo lo. For me and not for him. Now, how is that an answer? Because of this, God did for me when I came out of Egypt. Li velo lo. He says, oh, listen. God did for me. God gave me physical pleasure for the fact that I am a free person right now. And therefore, he wanted in me to have these desires. It's for li velo lo. And that's the way for him to connect with me is through me. Velo lo. It's not just for him. And therefore, don't call me a hypocrite when on my festivities and my holidays, I like to enjoy myself as well. I like to indulge in food because that's what God wanted me to do. That was God's way of connecting with me. Ilu hayasham lo haya nig'al. And we also tell him, if you were there in this such a way, you would not have been saved. Meaning, if you take yourself out of the klal, this is maybe, let's do this. If you want to be saved from the virus, maybe, you could say, is being part of the klal. And it's so ironic because we tell each other to have social distancing and to distance ourselves. But you see that if you take yourself out of the klal, if you take yourself out of the equation, out of the community of the Jewish people, and you say, I want nothing to do with them, with their destiny, then lo haya nig'al. Then he also would not been saved. As we know, God skipped over. Why is a holiday called Passover? Brendan, why is a holiday called Passover? It's good you guys give me time to drink. Just a stalling technique. Okay. Why is it called Passover? Because Hashem skipped over the homes of the Jews when he smit the Egyptians, right? But someone who did not consider himself a Ivri, to associate himself with the destiny of the Jewish people, then he also didn't do any of these weird rituals. And one of those weird rituals were to put blood on your doorpost, right? So if he considered himself an intellectual and a philosopher, then he would have, and not include himself within the destiny of the Jewish people, he would have not been saved that night. And we also don't give him a choice. Of course he didn't. Of course, even the intellectuals and even those skeptics within Am Yisrael that night put blood on their doorposts.
And that was Passover.
That was Passover. And that's why God passed over their homes. So we tell him, you have to agree with us. Ilu hayasham lo haya nig'al. If you're thinking the way that you're thinking, I don't believe that you're really a Hashem. I don't really believe that you're a wicked person. Because ilu hayasham means ilu hayitasham. It's just lashon naki. We're using clean speech. We don't want to say, if you were there, you wouldn't have been redeemed. You see the sensitivity. She says, ilu lo haya. If he would have not been there, but really that's the way we tell him. If you would have been with this mindset, with this thought process of being so aloof and trying to say I have nothing to do with these rituals during the time of Egypt, then you wouldn't have been here today. That means that even those people who were your archetypes, right? The people who were the philosophers and the more rationalists during the time of Egypt, they also put blood on their doorposts. They also did these rituals. Okay? And therefore, the best way to save ourselves from any sickness or any plague that comes and hits every home, chas v'shalom, is to understand that we're part of the destiny of the Jewish people. And when we internalize that message, we're part of the destiny of the Jewish people, and we pray for each other. Right now, that we can't see each other, but we're in thought together. We consider ourselves the destiny of the Jewish people, then we're saved because the Jewish people themselves are eternal. They're netzach. So when you're connecting with the Jewish people, with your spirit, then you're also eternal, because your destiny is their destiny, right? So times like this is when we should most perform mitzvahs as much as we can, and that way we connect to God. Even the mitzvahs that are less revealed, that their explanation are less revealed.
But Rabbi, although all the Jews were saved, many of them stayed behind. They didn't go with the Jews. They didn't leave Egypt, although they were saved as Jews, but they didn't leave Egypt.
Right, and those people are people who did not want to have their destiny with the destiny of the Jewish people. They chose a little too late. You understand? There was a juncture in the history of the Israelites in Egypt where a person had a choice whether they align themselves right now with the Israelites, or they want to go and assimilate and become part of the Egyptian culture and go with that. There was a fork to do it. There's an opportunity given, and you could stay alive, right? Maybe your firstborn will die, but not the entire nation. But someone who too late, he came too late to the game. I mean, they're already about to leave Egypt, and right now he's saying he doesn't want anything to do with Jewish people. I don't think there were any one of those people. There weren't any of those people, right? There were people maybe at a certain junction in history who did not leave Egypt, as it says in the Midrash. But that happened way back. Anyway, no, I don't think anybody did not believe in God. When you had the 10th plague coming along, everyone was aligned. There's no choice. Okay. Ilu hayasham lo haya nig'al. Okay. I think we're nearing the end of this session, but anybody has any questions about what we said or wants to share anything? Asaf, any ideas?
I was thinking that the question is very similar to the questions that we write in the Pasuk in Yoshua when they cross over the Jordan. But there's a lot of similarities between each time that the Torah says that your kids are going to ask a question. The question is always ma, like what is this? It's observational.
So they're always asking about something that they're seeing, like a ritual that's happening in front of their eyes. Is that what you're trying to point out?
Yeah, so in Yoshua they ask, what is this rock? And here they're asking, what is this, what are these mitzvot? Or what is the eating that you're eating? It's always something.
That's why the questions have to be asked. They have to be when the things are present in front of you. Then you could point out and say, Ba'avu zeh, right? But they're asking, like you said, they're observational. And a lot of things in Judaism, it's observational. As people would say, why do we need Bet HaMikdash? We also, with the same person today, we had that question. Why would you need the temple? Right? It's like, we don't need that. We need the ideas and the ethics that represents and to spread love and peace among everyone. We don't need a Bet Mikdash. But where do you see that? It's all presentational. It's all in the building and in the gold and in the feeling that you get when you enter the temple that gives it the power and the magnitude that could really affect a lot of people. It's very nice to spread ideas, and it works. You can spread ideas. But it will be so much more powerful if we had a Bet Mikdash, or we had a temple with all its glory. And imagine people from all over the world coming to there and hearing real wisdom and seeing real peace happen. That's human beings are observational. They have to work with seeing things. And that's why all the questions that are prompted is through the sight and through seeing all the rituals of the Pesach happening in front of their eyes.
But it's very similar to the concept of avodah in general that I heard from Rav Winselberg, that he defines avodah as making the abstract physical, bringing the abstract into a physical manifestation. That is the concept of avodah.
Yeah. Which is not something that is really ideal. You have to understand that it's not really ideal. Because Ideal is that I don't need to have any impressive garment of a rabbi to inspire me to say that this is a holy man. But we have, I should not be inspired specifically by going to the tomb of something or to go to the kotel, right? It's something that my father once told me. I came back from the kotel. I remember I had an amazing tefillah there. Then I told my father, Alav Shalom, I told him, well, I had a great tefillah at the kotel. He says, very good, but you have to have that same feeling everywhere. It means very good that you got it from there, but it shouldn't be only when you're at the kotel. It's also when you go to pray, you should draw that experience from there. But really, the ideal is that you shouldn't need that. That gives you a little glimpse into giving you a jump ahead when you see that impressive building. But it's work that you have to do yourself, and it's a little, it cheapens it a little bit if it has to go through that a little bit. But we are human beings in the end of the day, and that's the avodah that God wants us to do over here, right? And therefore, we need Bet HaMikdash, and we need all those things. And they all represent also loftier things, as we read in the past few weeks. Bet HaMishkan, there's a lot of wisdom that is hidden over there. Okay, so excellent. Thank you so much for everyone who participated. Great seeing you. We'll be here tomorrow studying Shemot, the book of Exodus, chapter 5. Really interesting stuff as well. So join us tomorrow, same time, same place.
Thank you very much.
Stay healthy and safe. I love you all.
Thank you.
Take care.
That's
Is this
enjoyable.
every Wednesday and every Thursday?
No, every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So Monday through Thursday, every day at 12.
Every day at 12 Pacific time.
Yeah, Pacific time. So yeah, that's 3 p.m. Eastern. You're Eastern?
Yeah.
Excellent. Yalla, litot. Bye.
Thank you very much.